Yo, what's good? What's good, everybody? How you guys doing today? This is Coffee and Sports in the Morning with your host, aka this man, Coach Dante, in the building. Guy to the right, my right hand man, up in the building, Mo. And y'all already know. Y'all want to win, y'all gotta guard that. What y'all gotta guard? Y'all gotta guard that three down there at the bottom. Man, if you can't guard that three or defend the three, it's a small possibility you're not going to win. You're not going to win basketball games. That's the method with Greg Popovich have. You can't defend the three, it's a good chance you're going to lose. If you're going to lose a game, my boy guard a three. My boy Brett, how you guys doing this morning, man?
Good morning, fellas. Good morning, Coach Brett.
Morning. I'm ready to talk some sports. Let's do it.
Yep, man. Everybody ought to be excited, man. You got football back, man. Football is tonight. I know it's preseason, but football is back. When you hit training camp, football is back, and I can't wait to see these guys go head to head tonight. But other than that, man, we got some interesting topics to talk about, including extra ones. And Mo got a specific topic. He brought up a great one yesterday in the group chat that we're gonna definitely discuss. But we start with Chris Jones and Aaron Donald, the two premier defensive tackles in the league. Feel like Chris Jones doesn't really get enough credit for what he does, how much he has meant to the Kansas City Chiefs defense. We already know what Aaron Donald can do, right? We already know what he pretty much can do for the Los Angeles Rams. I'll say, is both of them worth their money is both of them worth the money that they saying they deserve? Mo, I'm gonna kick things off with you this morning.
I think they're both worth the money. You're talking about two guys that are disruptors, like that can be dominant at times and draw double teams. Both have the ability to play inside and the quickness and athleticism to play outside. So you can play them all over on the line. Aaron Donald, to me, not just dominant, but he's got one of the great motors in all of the NFL, just relentless, nonstop. But I think Chris Jones has a point. Look, if he thinks that he has the same value to the Chiefs that Aaron Donald does to the Rams, he's 100% right. And not to mention, the Chiefs right now, they're in the middle of their run. Like, I don't think this is not a one-off. They've got 2 championships and counting. As great as Aaron Donald is, I don't see the Rams competing for a Super Bowl anytime soon. That team that they put together was more of a one-off team. This team right here is sustainable greatness. Chris Jones, he's worth the money. He's worth the money. His dominance actually makes things easier for other guys on the D-line, makes things easier for the linebackers as well as the cornerbacks. You can have the best cornerbacks in the league, but if they got to cover for 8-9 seconds, they're going to get toasted. So you have to have a guy that can put pressure and get to that quarterback. Chris Jones is worth the money.
Brett?
I'll say I never questioned if he's worth the money. Like, the only question I'd have if I were the Chiefs is how long do you want the contract to be? Because Chris Jones is already kicking 30. He's 29, turning 30 this year. So I think he's worth the money also. It's like Mo just said, you need a game-changing disruptor to help out your secondary. I think the bigger question is how many years do you want to give him? How many years do you think he'll continue to be this game-changing disruptor? Because you don't want to be paying a declining, washed up, not saying washed, but like a declining Chris Jones, almost 25, 30 million a year. So I think he's worth the money. I think they just got to get the years down.
Yep. So when you talking about Chris Jones, you're talking about one of the premier defensive tackles in the league, along with Aaron Donald. They both got a Super Bowl. Chris Jones got 2 of them. And Chris Jones feel like I say, don't many people like talk about him as much as they talk about. You will mention Aaron Donald pretty much. I mean, you mentioned Aaron Donald. You hear about Aaron Donald all the time. When you talk about defensive end tackles, you talk about Aaron Donald all the time. So other than that, man, I would say they both are deserving for, especially Chris Jones. He's very disruptive. Like Mo said, I don't care how many good cornerbacks you got. If you can't get to the quarterback and the quarterback got a lot of time in the pocket, I don't care how good your cornerbacks is, you're going to get eaten up, especially against any type of very good quarterback. You're going to get eaten up if Chris Jones and that defensive line, them not getting home. So other than that, do y'all think they will be paid though? Do y'all think they actually will be paid eventually? Brett, I'm gonna start with you.
Oh, I think they will. If not by Aaron Donald's he might get a couple of like a 1-year big deal because I know he was already talking retirement last year. So I'm just not sure how much longer he'll be, committed to the sport of football, but I think Aaron Donald will probably get another really nice chunk of change from somebody. And same with Chris Jones. If the Chiefs aren't willing to pay him, I'm willing to bet my next check that somebody's willing to pay him big money.
Got you. Mo?
I think Brett's on point, Coach. These two guys, their value you can't deny. The question is, and I think Brett brought it up, is the years on the contract. Because they're both actually getting up there in years. And at some point, the reality is Father Time catches up to you, and you don't want to be on the hook with a declining player, a declining asset, if you will. So I think they both get their money. It's just a matter of the years. That'll be the only holdup on the deal.
Yeah, definitely. So definitely can't wait to see these 2 guys get their money. Both definitely deserve it. You're arguably talking about the top 1 and the top 2 defensive tackles in the game. So we switched this to the cornerback situation now. So who's the best cornerbacks heading into 2023? You have Sauce Gardner, you have Patrick Surtain, you have Brett Jair Alexander. You have Jair Alexander or Darius Slay. Brett, I'm start with you. Who's the best corner going into 2023?
So this one's an interesting one to me because obviously my bias wants to say Jair Alexander every time. And I think he has a legitimate claim to it. But I really want to say it's going to be Sauce Gardner. The issue is obviously he's only been in the NFL for 1 year, and I kind of want to see if he can repeat that and do it again for another year or 2 before I say he's the best corner in the NFL. So I'm going to pick the homer answer. I'm going to pick Jair, but I think if Sauce has another year like he did last year and he just continues to do it, then next year I'd probably say Sauce Gardner.
All right. Mo?
To me, it's even. I really can't decide between Jair Alexander and Darius Slay because they've proven it over years. So they're proven.
Yep.
And I think they're proven commodities, and you know what you're going to get with them coming into this season. Potentially, Sauce Gardner has all the skill sets, the quickness, his ability to, even when he gets beat, coach, to recover, to make up the stagger. I love that he's physical on the line of scrimmage, reroutes wide receivers, but it is a 1-year sample size. It was impressive. If he just duplicates what he did in year 1, that to me would establish him as the dominant cornerback. But I'm going to need to see that. I know what I'm getting with Slay. I know what I'm getting with Alexander. So I'm going to go with the proven commodities. But I think Sauce Gardner clearly is on the come up.
Got you. Sauce Gardner, like I say, when I watch him play, when I watch Sauce Gardner play, he gets away with a lot of holding. He really actually gets away with a lot of holding in most of these games. But you can't, like I say again, I'm not going to knock a person if you can get away with it. You can get away with it. I'm not going to knock you, but he does an actual lot of holding. He did a lot of holding last year that the referees didn't call. So we'll see if they will call most of those this year. But like I said, I'm not going to knock them from doing it. If you can get away with it, that's fine. That's fine with me.
Very physical.
Receiver. If you can do that, I'm very okay with it. And Brett may not want to say be a homer and say pick Jair Alexander, but I damn sure will pick him. I damn sure will pick him to be the best cornerback in the league. For what many people, you don't shut down Justin Jefferson. Get the opportunity to shut down Justin Jefferson after he played on embarrassed the Green Bay Packers in week 1. And Jair Alexander said in a press conference, said in this when they interviewed him, said the only reason he had those yards because I wasn't actually guarding. I wasn't guarding him. He took on that responsibility, and you talking about someone shutting him down, holding them to one catch, holding them to probably one catch in a game. That's something to see. That yes, he has some struggle. Every cornerback is going to struggle. Every cornerback is they're not going to really stop anybody from catching the ball, but if you can just limit them to from doing big plays, Jair Alexander did it. Jair Alexander, was physical with Stephon Diggs, like his physicality and talking a little smack to him when they played the Buffalo Bills. He held his own. So hey, Jair Alexander has proven that he's the best corner in the NFL. You also got Patrick Surtain, who's a lockdown corner, who's a very lockdown corner as well. Who's very physical. That week 1 matchup between him and DK Metcalf was really actually a physical, brutal matchup right there. You also got some very good up and coming corners. J.C. Horn is going to be a solid cornerback in this league as well. So there's some corners out there that's gonna be good, especially in the near future. You talking about Joey Porter Jr. He's got all the make tools and the ingredients to be in a lockdown corner. That play by George Pickens was just a hell of a play. He was right there. It was just a hell of a play. So, Brett, give me a cornerback in the near future. What if it was in the draft or a cornerback that you looked at last year that say, I think this guy got the tools to be something, be a lockdown corner in the league?
Ooh, give me a J.C. Horn.
Okay.
He took my guy.
All right, Mo, go ahead. Give us some thoughts on J.C. Horn since that's your guy.
I really think that give him a couple years and J.C. Horn is going to elevate right where Sauce Gardner is. We're going to be talking about Sauce Gardner or J.C. Horn for best cornerback. He's just a natural playmaker, Coach.
Yep.
A ball hawk, physical, has the speed to stick with anybody. His lateral quickness is on point. So I'm when I watch this kid play, he's just exciting, and he's already he does veteran things to be a young player. He baits quarterbacks. He's very good at baiting quarterbacks and then jumping on the ball. So to me, in a couple of years, it's him and Sauce Gardner's world.
Yep. Tyree Woolen is definitely another one. That's another hell of a play.
I like that.
I like Tyree Woolen. Devin Weatherspoon he played tonight. Devin Weatherspoon for Seattle played tonight. Watch that. Y'all watch that dude play. That dude gonna be something special too. That cornerback right there gonna be something good to watch. Rookie out of Illinois. So we got Ron Rivera backtracking on his comments about Eric Bieniemy. He pulled back off of the comments that the players were going to him and basically saying talk to Eric Bieniemy yesterday after being too hard up on the players. But that's what you get when you're a Super Bowl winning coach, when you're a Super Bowl winning offensive coordinator. He's passionate. He's coming in to change the culture. He's coming in to try to win. He ain't coming in to try to lose games. He's coming in to try to win. So do anybody mind him being hard on the players? No, I don't mind him. But Ron Rivera did backtrack on his comments. Mo, your reaction on Ron Rivera backtracking from his comments?
Yeah, I don't really understand why he even had to do that. Why was that necessary? Why even engage in that? You said what you had to say. You trust Eric Bieniemy. You said Eric Bieniemy is doing a great job, and you said it's football. It's football. Look, Eric Bieniemy is coming in, and he's trying to break the status quo. This has been a losing organization. He's coming from a winning organization. He's going to bring that kind of attitude. He's going to bring that kind of swagger with him. I don't understand the big what to do about players being pushed to compete, go beyond what they normally do. It's a non-issue to me, but the more you talk about it, you make it an issue. So I really don't know why Ron Rivera saw fit to backtrack off of his original state. I had no problem with what he had to say, but say what you have to say, stand by it, and move on.
Definitely. Brett, go ahead.
I couldn't have phrased it any better myself. And as far as like Eric Bieniemy being hard on the players, like what? Like I'm not trying to compare him to these other guys, but like let's look at all these other successful championship-winning dynasties and teams. Was Coach Pop easy on the players? No. Coach Belichick? No. Like guys like that, they held every player to this higher standard, and they were hard on them. So to me, like I said, Eric Bieniemy just wants to come in and try to build this winning culture, just like he had in Kansas City with Andy Reid, and I'm very okay with that. And to me, it's almost like if you can't handle it, then go somewhere else where losing is acceptable. But Eric's pretty much coming in and saying, this isn't acceptable anymore. This is what you're doing. This is what we're doing now. We're going to win. And if you don't like it, there's the door.
I mean, think about it. Pat Riley and the Heat, they still have weekly weigh-ins.
Yep.
They weigh guys and they do their body fat. Like that's a weekly thing in Miami. That's part of that culture. That's part of their standard. And guys still want to go to Miami to play basketball. So I don't understand the big deal about Eric Bieniemy challenging players. And look, if you come there and you're the new offensive coordinator, you're not doing your job if you don't challenge some of the starters and see if there's another guy on that roster who wants it more than them, who might do what you need done better than the starters. So I don't understand why the starters would have a problem with competition and with a coach that wants you to be better.
Yep. But I'll say again, if you think you're going to go in the Miami Heat organization with that lollygagging, with that losing mentality, oh, no, Pat Riley will get you up out of that quicker than you got in. They're not going to go for that losing. They're not going to put a losing product out on the field. And I believe that's what Eric Bieniemy trying to do, bring a winning product on the field. And these players being soft and acting like some little girls out there when a person – you talk about a person that has won 2 championships with the Kansas City Chiefs. Yes, Andy Reid. You want to give some of the credit to Andy Reid but don't forget, Eric Bieniemy was a play caller. He was a part of that offensive scheme, him and Andy Reid. So can't excuse that and can't forget about none of that. This guy knows what he's doing on the offensive side of the ball, and all he's trying to do is bring a winning culture and get this offense some type of stability. So like I said, I don't mind him going hard up on these players. I really don't mind him going hard up on these players. Whatever it takes to get the best up out of these players, that's what he's going to do, and that's what he needs to continue to do. So other than that, we got some NCAA right here. We got the SEC saying they will not look to expand the conference, feeling they do not need in all four times zones. They're not going to expand the conference. They're not going to basically expand the conference. How do you feel about that, Mo?
I feel like the SEC spoke when they didn't need to speak.
Yeah.
Really, the dominant conference in college football is the SEC, right? Who doesn't know that? So over the last how many years, when we get to that Final Four play, and isn't there always an SEC team? Sometimes there's 2 of them, right? Like it is the dominant dominant section when you look at it in the conference in college football. I just thought the SEC, they saw all this movement going on. They said, hey, a lot of conferences are adding more teams. We don't need to add more teams. We got quality. We got wins. We're winning championships, and we already have natural rivalries. I don't think it's about travel or anything like that. I think the SEC is just saying right now, scoreboard. We're the we are with all this movement. It doesn't phase us at all. But to me, when you have to come out and say it, when we all already know it, I think the SEC is a little bothered. Not in the immediate sense, but let's see what the impact of these changes have 5-6 years from now. Because a lot of these teams that are moving around, they've yet to really embrace what you can do with the NIL. And I think the NIL opens up all kinds of opportunities for all schools and all conferences. It is literally going to level the playing field. The SEC is the dominant conference right now. I don't know if that's going to be the same 5 years from now.
Brett?
The only reason I could think that they said it is to dispel any possible rumors of expansion or whatever that's coming out, but it really feel like they didn't need to say anything. Like, it's clear that they're fine the way they are for right now. They're the premier dominant conference in college football, so they didn't really need to say anything, and the only reason I can think of is they're trying to dispel any rumors before they start. But yeah, it just seemed really weird to me that they'd come out and say that.
Kyle just made a really good point. It's easy for the SEC to say that because they're one of the halves. They have all the money. Like, all this movement, all this change, this is about money and it's about exposure. The SEC doesn't lack for either one of those.
Gotcha. So Mo, we get to the segment that you got, and you posted all-time point guards by category. So explain to us about this segment, Mo, that you put out there.
So what it lists is a lot of great point guards, but it basically lists who's the best at a particular skill set, be it playmaking, assist, shooting, rebounding, things of that nature. I put it out there, but I don't agree with some of the setups in there because immediately the first thing I thought of when I saw playmaking, I thought Magic. But I would have also attached leadership to Magic as well.
Yep.
So when you read it out, the people in the chat will appreciate what I'm talking about, and maybe some will agree with the way they did it.
All right, so I'm gonna read this out. So, all-time point guards by category. So you got Steph Curry overall. That means scoring, playmaking, shooting. Overall, you have Steph Curry scoring. You have Russell Westbrook rebounding. Magic Johnson playmaking. That's true. He's the best. I think he's the best playmaker on this board, on this point guard board. You have Gary Payton defense. He's the best defender. Out of all of these point guards. He's the best defender, and he can score. The man averaged at least 20 points every year with the Seattle Supersonics, but he's the best defender by far up on this list. Not even really close. You got Steph Curry shooting. He's the best shooter probably up on this board. Russell Westbrook finishing. Curry efficient. Kyrie ball handling. Do you agree with that, Brett? With Kyrie ball handling?
I think when it comes to ball handling for point guards, it's either Kyrie or Isaiah.
Okay.
So, to me, either direction you want to go, but personally, I would take Kyrie.
How about you, Mo?
You're saying ball handling, and you're talking about their handles.
Yes,
handles. It would be between Isaiah and Kyrie. I would give Kyrie a slight edge because he's done some things that I've never seen anybody do. The closest guy I've seen that imitates what Kyrie can do was Rod Strickland.
Gotcha. All right, you have Russell Westbrook, athleticism. You agree upon that? His athleticism. He has athleticism and rebounding.
I would agree with that. I would say Russell Westbrook athleticism. I'd also throw in prime Derrick Rose, right? I think they would be right. They would be right there, and probably down the line we'll say John Morant, but right now I would say it's Russ and Derrick Rose for athleticism.
I like Russ for athleticism. I would almost consider Magic for rebounding.
Okay.
As well.
Yeah, that's funny because Russ is a great rebounder for his size, but he wasn't a better rebounder than Magic.
Right. Exactly, and I think the way they got rebounds too, like Russ, it's well known that they kind of cleared out so Russ could grab those rebounds and kind of created the space for him. Magic John had to go in amongst the trees of the 80s, and there was hardly any spacing back then, so it was a super packed paint, and he's still grabbing all those boards. So I think Russ's rebounds numbers look more impressive year by year, but I do think Magic's just the better overall rebounder.
If Russ got a running start in the 80s and 90s and tried to come in there, he gets sent into the front row. that stuff that he can do today, he'd be right in the front row with the fans trying to do that. That would not fly. He would fly.
Oh, I'd say Bill Lambier is giving him a hard elbow right off the bat. We all know it.
So you got Steve Nash, leadership. You agree or disagree on that one?
And that's tough. He's obviously a very good leader, and he ran that system to perfection. But I don't know if he's a great leader. Like, I wouldn't put Steve Nash as a leader over Magic Johnson, over Isaiah Thomas, even over a Jason Kidd in his prime. So I think they got that wrong. Steve Nash, I think of a lot of things, but not leadership. I mean, you could actually put him second when it comes to shooting behind Steph. Great shooter.
Yeah.
Deceptively gifted ball handler, but not a leader.
Brett?
No, I agree with that. I think that there are other categories for Steve Nash. He's an all-time playmaker. He's an all-time shooter. He's a very good leader, but I don't think he passes Magic in that either.
All right, so we have clutch is Dame Lillard. Clutch is Dame Lillard. You agree, Mo?
I'm biased, so I shouldn't be asked. Because look, if we're gonna be real, Dame has made some big shots, but it's not like he's got like 8 clutch moments in the postseason. He doesn't have that many to really talk about. You could argue that Steph has made so many clutch shots in games late. Magic's not even a shooter, but he's got a couple of the biggest shots ever made in the NBA Finals. The junior skyhook against the Celtics that basically clinched the game. So the clutch thing is a tough one. I guess if you're trying to include Dame, that would be the one category you could put him on because he's not really a great playmaker. And I'm not sure he's a good leader, but I'm not sure he's a great leader. I wouldn't argue with having Dame at the clutch thing. He just wouldn't be my first pick.
All right, go ahead, Brett.
I don't think so. Listen, I know why they put Dame there because he has 2 of the great, buzzer beaters in postseason history.
Right.
But I think the issue a lot of the times with clutch shooting and scoring is a lot of people just take buzzer beater in the last 10 seconds. But to me, hitting a 3 when you're up 3 to go ahead 6 with a minute left is just as important to ice a game, or hitting a big shot to go up 4 with 45 seconds to go is just as important.
Facts.
And I think I've seen Steph Curry do that more. I think I've seen from film, I've seen Magic do that more. I think I've even seen Kyrie do that more.
I think I've seen Isaiah Thomas do that more.
So I think that the reason he's here is because we think clutch is just straight buzzer beater in the last 10 seconds. But to me, it encompasses more time than that. I like the whole 5 minutes and under thing. But even if you want to stricken it down to 2 minutes, but it's definitely more than just buzzer beaters. So if we're going by iconic moments and buzzer beaters, then sure, put Dame up there. But to me, he's not the most clutch point guard.
I mean, who's not on the list? I don't think off the top of my head that should be there in some capacity, right?
Mm-hmm.
John Stockton. He's only the all-time assist leader, and John Stockton, not a big scorer, but he hit a lot of clutch jump shots. I remember he sent San Antonio home in the conference finals. John Stockton was clutch. He wasn't putting up 25 points a game, but when he did shoot it, it was money. So it's kind of weird that he's not even on the list at all. It's kind of weird that Jason Kidd is not on the list at all. But like I said, it's a different kind of list. I see why they have some of the players there, but it just makes for good debate.
Yep.
I think the hard part with like Jason Kidd, for example, and like John Stockton is all the stuff they really excelled at. Like John Stockton was playmaking, but you're not really going to put him above Magic.
Right.
Shooting, but you're not going to put him above Steph. Like
right.
Same with Jason Kidd. He's one of the greatest defensive point guards of all time. But are you going to put him ahead of Gary Payton? Like he was a great playmaker, but you're not going to put him ahead of Magic.
Okay.
So I get why they're not on here. It's tough for me too because I really think that they were elite at so many different things, but all the stuff they happen to be elite at, it just so happens to be dominated by like some of the greatest of all time.
Yep, you don't have to, Mo. You don't have to tell me about John Stockton. The Game 6 that he hit against the Rockets to send them to the NBA Finals. You talking about clutch, ice cold right there. That was crazy. After we hit the shot, Eddie Johnson, I believe, hit the shot to send it to a Game 6. Send it to a Game 6, and then John Stockton comes off a screen on the inbound. He hits the big shot at the top of the three to send the Jazz to the NBA Finals to play the Bulls. Yeah, John Stockton.
Coach, was that the Rockets with
Hakeem Olajuwon, Clyde Drexler, Charles Barkley?
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Those Rockets. That was those Rockets right there. Yeah, when he hit that clutch three, and every game was close in that series. That was a hell of a series. So, we have someone that got paid yesterday. Josh Hart signs for the New York Knicks, $81 million. Reaction. Mo, go ahead. Give me your thoughts on Josh Hart signing with the New York Knicks, $81 million.
Look, Josh Hart is a jack of all trades, master of none, but he's a winning player. He's the kind of guy that can do a little bit of everything for you, contends on defense, rebounds like a big, capable of hitting big shots, plays multiple positions. I like them keeping him. That's a steep price. It's a steep price because, look, Denver let go somebody that was critical to their success. And I would say that Bruce Brown and Josh Hart, Bruce Brown's probably a little bit better than Josh Hart, and Denver thought $45 million was too steep. New York signing Josh Hart for $81 million. I hate to say it, Knicks fans, but that's an old Knicks signing. Like that's what the Knicks are known to do, to overpay guys that are good players. You're paying Josh Hart like he's a great player. That's a lot of money for a guy who is a very good role player, but he is a role player.
Gotcha. Go ahead, Brett.
I think the hardest part to gauge about role player contracts is just the way the salary cap keeps going up and up and up. Like if you told me 2 years ago that Bruce Brown was going to get like $25 million a year or 23 or whatever the final number was, I would have called you insane. But now it's almost like the numbers are skewed. Like now it's like, okay, Josh Hart got 20. 80 million sounds bad, but 20 million a year doesn't sound terrible considering that Bruce Brown just got 23, and I don't think Bruce Brown's that much better than Josh Hart. The length, he's still young, so I don't think the length bothers me at all. So I think it just comes down to what you're paying him per year. So I think the contract's fine. I think the number's fine. And I think that at the end of the day, too, he is just an overall winning player. And I think if you do want to move on from that contract, I think it's tradable. And I think as the years progress, you're just going to see numbers for role players go up and up and up. So I think it might look like an overpay now to some, but I think give it a year or two, and all of a sudden it's probably going to look like a steal.
It might, but here's the thing: that when sometimes you get the money and you're secure, sometimes you get the money and then you struggle to live up to the contract. Right? That's the reality of it, especially in New York. In New York, you know how quick those fans turn on you, right? They're not going to look at intangibles. They're going to look at shooting percentages. They're going to look at if you're winning games, if you're making lockdown stops or things of that nature. And remember, Emmanuel Quickley, another member of that team, he's looking for $100 million. Josh Hart just got $81 million. And I can tell you right now, the Knicks are not going to pay Emmanuel Quickley $100 million. It's not going to happen. It's definitely not going to happen after giving Josh Hart $81 million. So to me, at some point, Emmanuel Quickley's getting traded. He's getting moved.
Yep. So you got Kareem Hunt left New Orleans without a deal. He also left Indianapolis without a deal. So I think Indianapolis is getting really a bad rap. I don't know what it is, but I think Indianapolis is running out of luck right here. But Brett, your initial reaction on Kareem Hunt leaving both situations without a deal?
Yeah, it doesn't really surprise me too much. I think that he's going to wait. He'll probably take a couple more meetings and maybe try to spark a little bit of seeing if he can drive the price up a little bit. So it wasn't surprising to hear, but I think he'll get signed soon enough, and I think it'll be a team like – I don't think it'll be the Colts. I think they kind of hurt their reputation with running backs around the league for now, but I do like the Saints, and I also like possibly Miami as a fit for him.
Got you. Go ahead, Mo.
So I think what happened with Kareem Hunt in Indy is simple. One of two things. He either had dinner with Jim Irsay and got to know him, and that made him bounce, or he had dinner with Jonathan Taylor and he told him about Jim Irsay and that made him bounce. So you want to know why he left without a contract? Jim Irsay. I guarantee you. He got to learn more about Jim Irsay and he bounced. Plain and simple. Look, Jim Irsay being how he is, any free agent running back, at least one of the top level ones, they're not going to sign there. They're bouncing.
Yep. Anthony Barr thought he got signed by the New Orleans Saints, but it appears the Giants are looking at Anthony Barr, so they're looking to get some linebacker stability down. Okay, so now we got something interesting. We do got something a little bit interesting. Mo, we got the Phoenix Suns are retiring Sean Marion and Amari Stoudemire's 32. Your reactions on that, Mo? And do it? Is it deserving of them getting their jerseys retired in Phoenix?
So they didn't win a title. Let's start there. But for about a 4-5 year window, that Suns team was one of the most exciting teams in the NBA, and they were right there in the mix all the time. I think they went to a couple of conference finals. Maybe you could call them pioneers of small ball. People forget Amari Stoudemire's natural position is power forward. But when he was putting up those insane numbers, he was playing small ball center. And Sean Marion was the power forward who's a natural 3. So when you had the two of them combined with Steve Nash's playmaking ability, you had two of the top, 3 or 4 finishers in all the NBA. Yep. So anytime they touch the paint, you're getting dunked on, period. You're getting dunked on. Marion wasn't much of a shooter, but he was great in the open court, an elite defender. Amari had a 10 to 12 foot face-up game, but that's all he really had. Amari's strength was his ability to finish. Yep. He was one of the most ferocious finishers I've ever seen. So I think it's deserving that they get that honor, that they get their numbers retired, because they were great players. They were great players for that Suns team. I know that some franchises have different standards.
Yep.
I don't want to do the Laker thing, but the Lakers are not retiring some dude's number because you played good for a few years, but you didn't win anything. They're not going to do that. but in Phoenix, it was at a time when they were very relevant. They were very exciting, and not to mention, those two guys are attached to a 2-time MVP. That's Steve Nash. So I see why they both got their numbers or their jerseys retired. It's deserving.
Brett?
I think it's well-deserved. I know a lot of people, and I saw the initial reaction online, they were bashing it because that Phoenix team didn't win any rings. But listen, only one team can win a ring a year, and when you're in the mix with the Dynasty Spurs, you're right in there with those mid-2000s Pistons teams that were really wrecking havoc. And then it was just a tough back then to win it all. And I definitely think it's well-deserved. And you're talking like Amari Stoudemire. I think he was definitely one of the pioneers of small ball. I know they tried it in the 90s a bit with Chris Webber and Don Nelson, and that was one of the reasons why he opted out of leaving Golden State. Yep. But it feels like Phoenix was really the first team that was able to actually take that concept and run with it. And honestly, they almost had the Spurs. They almost made a couple finals. Sean Marion's one of the most underrated players in NBA history. He's one of the most versatile defenders in NBA history. Amari Stoudemire is one of the most devastating finishers that we've seen. So I think it's well-deserved they were on those legendary Suns teams that are looked back on fondly, even though they didn't win a title.
You know what's crazy about those Phoenix teams? That they were a finesse team, and they played at 7 seconds, get a shot up.
Yep.
But they played it on the tail end of when the NBA was at its most physical. I don't think a lot of people realize this, but the hand checking rules it's been changed like 6 different times over the course of the NBA, but it got changed again right after the Lakers Pistons series. If everybody remembers that series, the competition committee went back to that and they just said that aesthetically it didn't look good. The idea that, or you can say what Adam Silver said in a recent interview, lesser talented players were able to control more gifted players with a physical brand of basketball. That's facts.
Yep.
That's all facts. So they changed the rules right after that. And you can see the results because when they changed the rules, that was Miami versus Dallas. Dwayne Wade shot like 100 free throws.
Yep.
I'm not saying he didn't earn them because as the rules changed, those became fouls. If you would take 5 years off of that and they were touching him and doing what they were doing, they would have just told him to keep playing. So it was a big shift in the way the NBA is now. I know we talk about how the game has expanded, but that was the start of what you see today.
Let's say Paul Pierce is probably saying he would have shot 110 free throws in that series.
You know what? It's funny because if knowing Paul Pierce, he probably thinks that. But if you had switched him out, and he would have been with that old Miami team, Dirk would have 2 rings.
I don't even think they would have made the finals. They would have gotten dog walked in like the second round.
You know what? I'm with you, actually. I'll take that back. They don't get past the Pistons. The Pistons are back in the finals. And if the Pistons matched up against the Mavs, Dirk still would have 1 ring.
Yep. All right, so the narrative around Mari Stoudemire and the Phoenix Suns, the 1 year that they actually had a chance to win the NBA Finals, because after the suspension of Amari Stoudemire and a couple of more players, it seems to be a huge loss to them than the Spurs losing a Robert Horry in the Western Conference Finals. The winner of that series went on and dominated the Mets. Not the Mets, but the New Jersey Nets, who were not really good. They were the only team in the East at that time to win 50 games. It just showed back that at that time the East was very, very, very weak, and I think it still is to this day. It still may be a little bit to this day, but that team just made it to the finals. That was the only team to win 50 games that year. They weren't even strong. So the question I got: if Amari Stoudemire doesn't get suspended in that game 5, because remember it started when Nash was bringing up the ball and Horry knocked him into that little thing on where you waited on the sub in the game, knocked him into the board part. So the series was tied at 2-2. I think the Phoenix Suns ended up winning that game, to be honest, going up 3-2, but they ended up losing the last 2 games. And they did end up losing the last 2 games. If Amari Stoudemire doesn't get suspended in that series, will the Suns been playing in the NBA Finals? And I think they were going to beat the Nets. They were going to beat the Nets easily. They were going to roll through them because, mind you, the New Jersey Nets were not a good basketball team. That was the only team in the East that won 50 games. They went 50-32, and the East was weaker than ever. If Amari Stoudemire plays that game 5, doesn't get suspended, will they win? Will they would have went on to play the New Jersey Nets with momentum, with Amari Stoudemire, not without him being suspended? But it proved to be a critical loss because, San Antonio did lose Robert Horry, but they still had Ginobili and Parker, where you didn't have Amari Stoudemire playing in that ball game, which really hurt Phoenix. Brett, do they win that series if Amari Stoudemire plays and doesn't get suspended?
I think so, because listen, with Amari Stoudemire, you lose him, that's huge for the Phoenix Suns.
Yeah, that was huge.
Now you allow San Antonio, they come in and they're able to win and then take the momentum back to Game 7.
Yeah,
they lost Robert Horry. It's a loss, but it's not a big loss.
Yeah,
considering the fact you still have Duncan, Robinson, Ginobili, Parker.
Yep.
You still have enough firepower to make up for the loss of Robert Horry, but the Suns didn't really have anybody to make up for the loss of Amari Stoudemire.
Yep.
Like, I'm trying to remember who the backup was on that team. Was it like Lindsey Hunter or something like that?
He was Lindsey Hunter. That was Stephen Hunter. My bad, Stephen Hunter.
I knew it was something Hunter, but like you don't have the manpower, and now you allow San Antonio to come in and get momentum back and take it back to Game 7. So I think if Stat doesn't get suspended, I think they do finish out San Antonio in 6.
Go ahead, Mo.
They had the Spurs in trouble.
Yep.
And they lost. The Spurs lost Ori, but that's not an even trade. That's a win. That's not a loss. That's a win. Ori for Amari Stoudemire. That's a win. I believe, I don't have the exact numbers. Brett, you're a numbers guy, but I believe over the course of that series, Amari was averaging over 30 a game. Right? He was averaging over 30 a game. And, this is when Tim Duncan was at his peak, and he was eating Tim Duncan alive. He was eating him alive. So that particular year, yeah, it meant everything. If he plays, I don't think the Spurs get to the finals. Not that year. And it changes everything, right? Because if Phoenix gets to the finals and if they just win one title, it would have validated that team. It would have validated Mike D'Antoni's system, right? It would have proven you could win that way with offense.
Yeah.
But I remember that series, and I remember as soon as Robert Horry did that and everything broke out, and I saw Amari, I think he came off. I knew right then. I was like, they're in trouble. They're in trouble. They had that rule where you couldn't leave the bench.
You couldn't leave the bench to go protect. He was only going off the bench to protect Steve Nash, and they end up suspending. So you couldn't leave the bench at that point of time to go protect his teammate. He was only protecting his teammate, which
I have the New York Knicks and Miami Heat to thank for that because of their brawls.
Yep.
You remember Jeff Van Gundy? I think he was hanging on. He was hanging on Alonzo Mourning's legs or something like that, trying to separate him from Larry Johnson. But I really do think that Suns team, because that was a team where they had Amari, Marion, Joe Johnson, Q Richardson. Like that team, had they got past the Spurs, they definitely would have beat the Nets.
Yeah, I think they would have stormed through the Nets. Same thing to the Spurs. They would have stormed through the Nets because, remind you, the Nets were not a good basketball team. That was the only team that won 50 games in the Eastern Conference. So, next thing, you got get rid of one. If you have to get rid of one, this is defenders, the great defenders. Jaren Jackson Jr., Anthony Davis, Draymond, or Bam Adebayo. Brett, who are you getting rid of? Get rid of one.
I don't think it's Draymond. I don't think it's Jaren Jackson Jr. So to me, this is between Anthony Davis and Bam Adebayo. Can I guarantee a full bill of health for Anthony Davis? Because if I can do that, I'll get rid of Bam Adebayo.
Gotcha.
It's tough for me, but I think with Draymond, you're looking at he's putting up the best defensive seasons that we've seen this side of 2008 past Kevin Garnett. Jackson Jr. probably just put up one of the best 10 defensive seasons we've seen in the past 20 years or 15. It's up there. So to me, it's just between Davis and Bam, and I think that Bam offers some more versatility, but I think Davis is also very versatile and just offers much more as a rim protector.
Got you. Mo?
I actually go the same route, and it's taking nothing away from Bam Adebayo because he's a tremendous defender. His ability to play in space, show and recover, guard multiple positions, because he doesn't move like a big man. When you watch Bam Adebayo defensively, even offensively, he moves like a small forward. My only argument, and it would be what Brett said, he's a tremendous defender, but he doesn't really meet a lot of people at the rims. He doesn't get a lot of block shots. His strength is really playing position defense, taking charges, trapping guys, playing in space. So given the choices of those four guys, he would be the guy that I would let go.
Got you. So we have the Hall of Fame. The Hall of Fame, they named some of the guys in the Hall of Fame. You had I know one of them. Okay, here we go. So the first year of eligibility for these players, you have Vince Carter, Jamal Crawford, Kyle Korver, Tyson Chandler, and you also have JJ Barea. First year eligibility for the Basketball Hall of Fame next year. You also have Sean Kemp on the ballot, Amari Stoudemire. You have Sean Marion. Which one of these guys, you guys, or if it's a couple of them, should be in the Hall of Fame? Mo, I'm gonna start with you. Which one of these guys should be in the Hall of Fame next year?
Vince Carter's going to make the Hall of Fame. This is going to be a very small Hall of Fame class because the rest of the guys, Marion, Stoudemire, and Kemp, you can line them all up together. I think they might get in, but I think it's down the road. They're not first ballot Hall of Famers. Vince Carter gets in. Everybody else you named on that list, they're not ever getting in. I mean, I don't want to hurt their family's feelings, but they're never getting in. I mean, they'll get in if they buy a ticket to watch the Hall of Fame, but they're not going to be in the Hall of Fame.
Hey, go Mo.
But JJ Barea locked up LeBron in the 2011 finals. 9 points and 35% shooting that championship,
right? Look, I mean, and I know, look, I'm not even going to revisit the whole Jamal Crawford. I like Jamal Crawford. I really do, man. And I get this is how people can be deceived. Jamal Crawford has one of the meanest highlight reels maybe ever in the NBA. He's crossed up so many people. He's an amazing streaky scorer, but I want to highlight streaky scorer. The perception is he's a great shooter. The reality is he is not a great shooter. He's never been a great shooter.
Yep.
And if you, Brett, you can look at the numbers, but I can tell you right now, the man was in the playoffs, I think 8 times his whole career. He shot over 40% twice. That's just from the field. Shooting from the 3, I think he averages like 30% or something. He just never came up big. You think about all the teams he played on, those Atlanta teams, those really good Clipper teams. When they were losing, we were looking at Blake Griffin. We was looking at Chris Paul. Jamal Crawford didn't play well either. He didn't play well in those series either. And I know he's won 6 Men of the Year, and that's a nice accolade. He's won it 3 times. That shouldn't get you in the Hall of Fame. It's not going to get you in the Hall of Fame. Never, ever, ever get you in the Hall of Fame. There are guys who have won 6 Men of the Year less times, like a Detlef Shrimp, who had a better career than Jamal Crawford and came up bigger in the playoffs than Jamal Crawford. Lou Williams has won it 3 times. And the only way he's getting in is he buy a ticket too. So to me, I like Jamal Crawford. He's fun to watch. He's not a Hall of Fame player. And everybody that you name, that's going to be a really short list. Vince Carter is going to be very lonely. He's going to be up there by himself.
Gotcha. Go ahead, Brett.
So just for fun, I looked it up. In the playoffs, Jamal Crawford shot over 40% from the field twice. And he shot over 35% from 3 only 3 times in his 8 playoff trips. I agree with that with Jamal Crawford. I think the only thing he really consistently was elite at was handles. Like, he has the top 5 handles in NBA history. He's right up there. But as a scorer, as a shooter, he was super inconsistent. Like, he could go off for 50, but more often than not, he's probably going 5 of 17 and just coming out firing. Like, that was always the issue with Jamal Crawford is the only thing consistent about him was his inconsistency. And obviously he didn't offer anything on defense. He was a traffic cone, and that's just an insult to traffic cones everywhere. he just didn't try on that end of the ball, like, ever.
Yeah.
So, to me, like, Sean Marion, I think he probably gets in a way later down the line. I think Stat might sneak in later down the line. Same with Kemp. They're definitely not first ballot. The only one on this list easily is Vince Carter. And I saw some guys try to say Kyle Korver. I don't think so. Maybe.
All right. If Kyle Korver gets in, then Jamal Crawford gets in. But Kyle Korver's not. He's another guy. Shot the lights out in the regular season. You get him in the postseason though, not nearly as good. Like and again, a role player, not a star, not a first, second, third, or fourth option. He's not getting in. They don't have a Hall of Fame for role players, bro. If they did, Robert Horry would already be in there. If they did, Derek Fisher would already be in there. If they did, Mario Elie would already be in there. They don't have a Hall of Fame for role players. Steve Kerr would already be in as a role player. It doesn't work like that.
Gotcha. So we got some NFL news breaking down a little bit of signings. If I'm not mistaken, cool, correct me if I'm wrong on this. I believe the Kobe Dean is hurt right now for the Philadelphia Eagles. So you do got they sign Zach Cunningham and Miles Jack to help out their linebacking core. Brett, give me your thoughts on that one.
I like it. I didn't see the terms of the contract, but I'm sure it's for like a vet minimum.
Yeah,
So even if they don't work out, you can just cut bait with minimal loss. So I like it. It gives more depth, it gives more insurance, and then obviously if things don't work out, then you can just kind of cut them and move on without really any long-term implications or anything to worry about with your cap pass this year.
Mo?
It's a good move by the Eagles. And don't forget, look, they got Rosen. Howie Rosen is the man. He didn't do anything wrong. He does everything right. So he made a deal that can give you high benefits, but if it doesn't work out, it's not going to hurt you. They're movable contracts, even if they don't make the roster. So it gives you added depth. It also gives you some veteran presence. So I like the moves.
And what do we know? We have the Colts signed them a running back, y'all. They got them a running. They signed them a running back. Don't y'all know that? They signed. Look at Brett. They signed Kenyon Drake. They went out to Kenyon Drake. They signed them a running back. So I guess Jim Irsay can get him a running back. I guess but not the quality back that he actually wanted. But they did give him they did sign them a running back. And another very underrated signing, you got John Johnson signing with the Rams. You have the Vikings signing N'Keal Harry as well. So those are the deals that went down. But this is for to get spicy right here. So this is what I've been waiting on. So okay. Let me know if y'all agree with this list right here, because they got each team GOAT, the best player on all of these teams. So Dominique Wilkins for the Hawks. Agree or disagree? That's the GOAT. That's their GOAT. They said NBA, that's their GOAT. The Hawks.
I agree. I think the only argument you can have for the Hawks is Bob Pettit. But okay. I would take Dominique Wilkins over Bob Pettit.
Mo, you agree with that, right?
I do too, because I have to believe that Brett, me, you, we never saw Bob Pettit play. I think Bob Pettit played before there was color TV. So I'm not going to take Bob Pettit over Dominique Wilkins. Look, in his prime, Dominique Wilkins was a problem.
Yep. So we this is a unanimous decision. We have Boston with Larry Bird.
Oh, yeah, I would. I think this one's pretty easy too. I would take Bird as their best player.
Mo is unanimous. Bird is their best player.
That's a tough one, Coach. I think he is a better basketball player than Bill Russell, so I'm going to concede. Yeah. I think it's Larry Bird. I know Bill Russell's more accomplished, but their best player, I'll take Larry Bird.
Julius Erving for the Brooklyn Nets.
Yeah, I think it's Doc. I believe he led them to a championship in the ABA.
I think it's easily Doc. I don't think it's a question. And not only did he lead them, he was destroying the ABA. He went up against the Nuggets in '76 with Dan Issel, David Thompson, a bunch of future NBA players or future, kind of star level players in the NBA. He dropped 38, 14, and 5 on him. He just destroyed him. So yeah, it's Doc, and it's not even close.
Kemba Walker, Charlotte.
Sadly, that's probably right. And look, that's no shade. Kemba was nice, but you would think a guy that's nice wouldn't be somebody's greatest player of all time. But I think that's accurate.
Go ahead, Brett. Is accurate.
Yeah, I can't even think of what the competition would be for him. Washed Alonzo or Alonzo Mourning. Yeah, it's Kemba, and I think the issue is there's just nothing. I think LaMelo Ball plays well for the next 5 years or 10. He's probably overtakes Kemba.
Mm-hmm.
They had Larry Johnson and Alonzo Mourning. back in the day, but I think Larry Johnson, after his first, I want to say 3 or 4 years, the back injuries kicked in, so he didn't really have the career that he could have had. I think Kimba was a 5 or 6 time All-Star, so it's got to be Kimba.
Yeah, we talking about like each team GOAT. So we can probably skip these 3 because it's unanimous. If you want, you talking about, I'm gonna just give you the team. We talk about the Bulls, the Cleveland Cavaliers, and we got the Dallas Mavericks. So we know who the GOATs of those pretty much team. We know who the GOATs of those teams. So we don't need to discuss those guys right there. So we got Jokic, the Denver Nuggets GOAT, as of right now.
Easily.
Okay.
I don't think there's a close second either. I think he completely has dusted Melo at this point for that number 2.
All right.
Yeah, I would have Melo 2 and maybe
like
Alex English or Dan Issel 3. Right.
Okay. Isaiah Thomas, Detroit.
I'll go with Zeke.
I'm okay with Zeke. I mean, he was kind of the leader of that team. I would put him over like Joe Dumars, and I don't think there's anybody from like the 04 championship team that competes with Zeke. So yeah, give me Zeke.
Steph, Golden State.
Yeah. I think the only guy that people would think of him historically on Steph's level would be Rick Barry.
Okay.
And he's already surpassed Rick Barry, so it's definitely Steph.
I think it's Steph too. I think with the Warriors, people will probably go way back and think of Wilt. But I think that Steph's been around longer. I think he's done more for the Warriors at this point than Wilt did. Like, Wilt put up flashier stats, but Steph's won more and done more for the organization. So, yeah, I'd pick Steph.
In the league.
All right. So the Rockets not even a question. Rockets not even really a question. You should know who the Rockets GOAT is, which is Akeem Olajuwon. I don't think it's even a full-blown question that should.
I got Akeem. I think Moses Malone would be 2, and the Big E, Elvin Hayes, would be 3.
All right. So Indiana, Reggie Miller.
For my money, it is. I can't really think of another player that impacted the franchise for as long as Reggie did. And Reggie's has so many signature moments in the postseason. So, yeah, I'm going to go with Reggie Miller.
Yeah, I think it's Reggie. I think your number 2 is probably like PG-13, and maybe number 3 is like Jermaine O'Neal.
Okay.
So, to me, Reggie Miller has done more and has more signature moments than both of them. I think Paul George is like maybe the better two-way player, but I think Reggie overall is just more impactful in what he did for the Pacers organization.
Okay, so we got Chris Paul. He's a GOAT of 2 teams as of right now. The Clippers. Chris Paul is the GOAT for the Clippers.
Who's this competition? Like Elton Brand?
That's why he's the GOAT of the Clippers.
Okay, gotcha.
Blake, because Blake Griffin was good for a while, but the best player, the leader of that team would still be Chris Paul. I guess if you reach way back, I'm not sure, but maybe Bob McAdoo played for them, but I'm not. That's going way back, so I'm going to concede that it's probably CP3.
All right, so now this will get tricky. Mo, your Lakers, they got Kobe Bryant considered
it's
as
not tricky. It's Magic.
It's Magic. Okay. So you do disagree with him. You go ahead.
People love Kobe. Kobe has become more beloved than Magic. He really has. But I don't judge players on love and how much they're loved. I don't care how much he's loved.
That's why I had to ask you.
I don't care how much he's loved. I want people to remember there's only one guy between the two of them that actually saves basketball. If that guy doesn't save basketball, Kobe Bryant's not playing basketball. He's in Spain playing soccer. That's where he's at.
Yep.
So it's Magic. Look, sometimes people want to break basketball down into a one-on-one matchup. In it, as an individual talent, Kobe Bryant is levels better than Magic Johnson as an individual talent and an athlete. There's no denying that. But if you put Kobe Bryant on a court with 4 guys and put Magic on the court with 4 guys, Magic's team's going to win.
Gotcha. That's why I had to bring it up, because I know multiple can be considered with the Los Angeles Lakers.
Sure. Kareem would be there. Wilt probably would get some love. There's some people that might even say Shaq. If you want to be really, really respectful historically, Jerry West, Elgin Baylor.
Yep.
I do love that you brought that up, by the way. Absolutely. I do think Kobe would win in a game on one-on-one, but I think Magic did more to completely elevate the team's offense, and I think that's just an overlooked aspect of basketball.
Yep.
Like even in different debates like the Bill Russell, Wilt Chamberlain debate and all that. But I think when it comes to the Lakers, I think it's Magic. Not only did he save basketball, but he elevated his team from a good offense to an all-time offense. Led them to 9 finals.
12 years, 9 finals. And a lot of us forget that he came off of being the league MVP, losing in the finals to the Bulls, and then his career ending cut short. Remember? It was cut. He lost a good 4 or 5 years of his prime, of his peak. That who knows what his numbers would have been like if he had made another run at another title. We'll never know. So I'm not discounting Kobe playing for 20 years, all the points he put up, all the spectacular moments, the 5 championships, the 2 finals MVP. Kobe by far is a better show. Even though Magic was the leader of Showtime, as an individual talent, Kobe's must watch. I would have Kobe top 5 in must watch guys in the history of basketball. But I just think as an overall basketball leader and the impact he had on the game, it's still Magic Johnson.
Yep. So we got for Memphis, you got Zach Randolph from Memphis.
I mean, I know they had that when they were in that grindhouse period for about 3 or 4 years. And Zach Randolph was a beast.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. It seems like Memphis is history is so short.
Yeah.
I guess because it's so short, you could go with Zach Randolph. I know Paul Gasol was there, but they weren't having the success that Zach Randolph's teams were having. So, I guess if Ja plays some more years, stay out of trouble and focus on basketball, in 2 or 3 years, it'll be Ja. But right now, I don't know anybody else that could beat out Zach Randolph.
Right.
I would personally go with Zach Randolph's front court partner. I think the answer is Pau's brother, Mark.
Mark was nice.
Okay.
I think Marc Gasol was the greatest Memphis player of all time. If you want to go Zebo, I have no problem with that. My favorite Zebo moment is still him yelling at DeMarcus Cousins, "In my hood, bullies get bullied." So he was tough. He brought that edge and attitude to grit and grind, but I still think Mark was the better all-time player for Memphis.
All right, so Miami shouldn't really be a question, right?
D Wade.
Gotcha. Okay. Milwaukee.
That's an interesting one. I think me and Brett disagreed. I think we disagreed.
Yeah, we did.
So, because his thing was Kareem is the greater player, but he thought that Giannis was the greater buck. And I would say that, so they both led Milwaukee to a championship. I think Giannis is a 2-time MVP and a finals MVP. Kareem is a 3-time MVP with Milwaukee. And he led them to the finals twice, losing in Game 7 to the Celtics. So that's why I actually have him over Giannis right now. That could change, but I'm just saying in terms of numbers, in terms of team success, Kareem was superior.
Gotcha. Okay. Go ahead.
I can definitely see the argument for Kareem. I like to go with Giannis because I know he has 1 less MVP, but he also has the DPOY to make up for it. When you look at the Bucks leaderboards, Giannis leads in more categories at this point. Giannis, he's only made 1 final so far. I think another one's coming, but he's still consistently leading his teams to deep playoff runs, normally the Eastern Conference Finals most years, and the years that he doesn't, normally somebody's hurt. Outside of 2023, Jimmy Butler just dropped 38 a night. It is what it is.
Yeah.
He lost to Jimmy Butler twice.
Yep.
Yeah, no. Overall, though, I do have Giannis, but I can definitely see the argument for Kareem as well.
Yeah. I would just tell people, you can look it up. Go look at Kareem Abdul-Jabbar's first 7 seasons in the NBA. Look at his numbers across the board. Giannis hasn't had a season like that in his career. I'm just saying. Gotcha. We're talking 35 and 16 with 4 blocks, 5 assists. Like, I like Giannis. I like him a lot. But there's numbers and then there's domination.
Gotcha. So Minnesota, is it an argument on this one for Minnesota's GOAT?
Joe Smith.
Zerbiak?
Kevin Garnett.
No, I'm joking. I said Zerbiak, but yeah, it's
Oh man, should we have a Zerbiak and Joe Smith argument?
So that means there's no argument on now. So I mentioned Chris Paul with the Clippers. They got Chris Paul with the New Orleans Pelicans as their GOAT.
So statistically, though, you can make a case for Anthony Davis the time he was there, right?
Yeah.
You can make a case that it's Anthony Davis. I think the Pelicans are kind of in the same boat as the Grizzlies. They don't have a long history. So you can look, I don't have a problem with anybody that says Chris Paul, but you can make a case for Anthony Davis as well.
Gotcha. Brett, you agree?
Yeah, I think you can make a case for Anthony Davis. I think people are going to point to lack of deep playoff runs and everything for Anthony Davis, but I think people forget just how terrible of a supporting cast they put around Anthony Davis in New Orleans. Like signing Omer Osik to like 4 years, $50 million, then handing out a big contract to like Etuan Moore. They were just making bad choice after bad choice, and then when they finally tried to bring in help with like Boogie Cousins, except he ruptured his Achilles like halfway into the experiment. So I think it's Chris Paul, but I can see the argument for Anthony Davis, and I'm not going to listen to anybody who says playoff runs because I just think the Pelicans did him dirty with that.
Yep. So I think I don't know if he's the for sure GOAT, but we'll see. You know who they got considered as the GOAT for the New York Knicks. You can guess. If it's an argument, it's Patrick Ewing.
Patrick Ewing.
Okay.
I don't know. I mean, so I get it. A lot of people perceive that, but is he really a greater Knick than Clyde Frazier?
Oh, okay.
I'm just saying, Clyde Frazier was Gary Payton before Gary Payton. He was locking down everybody, and he was dropping 20 points a night, and he won 2 championships. As good as Patrick Ewing was, he never won anything. And look, I guess your biggest case, if you want to argue for Patrick Ewing, is Michael Jordan was in his way.
Yep, every single time. Yep.
If that's the argument you want to make, I will say this to his biggest defense, when no one speaks of, Patrick Ewing in his prime, at his peak, he never had a second All-Star. Yep. John Stark made one All-Star team, but I'm talking about a perennial All-Star where you could say it's Ewing and so-and-so going up against whoever. He never had that, and he didn't actually get that until he was past his prime when he had Allen Houston and Sprewell. So to his defense, he never really had a second guy to support him when he was going up against some of those other teams. So I don't really have a problem with someone picking Ewing. I would just say that Clyde Frazier has a stronger argument.
Gotcha. Go ahead, Brett.
I actually agree with the Clyde Frazier. I don't think that I can see the argument for Ewing, and Ewing also happened to go up against one of the toughest eras for centers in NBA like history, and he didn't really have a co-star. So I can see an argument for Ewing, but I think I'll go Walt Clyde Frazier for the Knicks.
Okay. Oklahoma City GOAT, Kevin Durant.
So they start off as the Sonics, right?
Yeah, they start off as Sonics.
And so you're connected to the Sonics. I think the greatest player in the history of that franchise would be Kevin Durant. There's been some really good players. Dennis Johnson was there. Gus Williams, Jack Sikma. You can go down the list. Ray Allen was there at his peak when he was crossing people over and dunking people up. But the greatest player, I think it's got to be KD.
Gotcha.
I think it's Kevin Durant, and I think probably in second is Russ, maybe.
Okay.
I think the other part of, isn't that weird that they would have the 2 greatest players in the history of your franchise were teammates? Wow.
That's crazy.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
100% Kevin Durant, though.
Okay. So do we have any argument on this? Magic GOAT, Penny Hardaway.
No, I actually think it would be Shaq.
Okay.
Penny was Shaq's sidekick. Penny was nice, but let's be real. Penny was nice, but Shaq was it. Like the Orlando Magic Shaq to me was the physically best version of Shaq. That guy was freakishly athletic, ran up and down the floor, like could just do so many more things physically. The Lakers Shaq was more polished, but that Orlando Shaq, it's got to be him. I mean, I like Penny, but the greatest player in the history of the franchise, I mean, you could make it. I would put T-Mac over Penny.
Damn, I like it. Brett?
Yeah, I think it's Shaq too. The issue with Penny is you can try to argue him over Shaq, but it's not like he had this exceptionally long career peak with the Magic because his body started breaking down shortly after, like right around when Shaq left and shortly after. So I think it's Magic. Like I like Penny, but I think putting him as the greatest Magic of all time is overrating him a bit.
All right. So do we have any questions on the Philadelphia 76ers GOAT? Allen Iverson.
Oh, that's a tough one. I think AI is the most beloved figure in Philadelphia 76ers history, but was his career greater than Doc's?
So I think Julius Erving was a better Sixer.
Yeah, I think. Well, I don't think his career was better than Doc. Doc's got the championship AI didn't have, and people forget. I think Doc led the Sixers to the finals like 3 times, maybe 4 times. Like, it's got to be Doc.
Gotcha.
He led them in 77. I think it was. They went up against the Bill Walton Blazers. They went up against twice against Showtime.
Right.
Before matching up with them a third time and finally beating them before
Malone. Right.
They got Moses.
Yes. And look, AI is going to always be the most beloved Sixer, but the best Sixer is Doc.
Gotcha. All right. So it may be an argument for Phoenix GOAT. They got Phoenix GOAT right now. They got Steve Nash. That's their GOAT.
I'm trying to think of the history of the Suns.
Yeah, Charles Barkley.
Charles Barkley was an MVP there, led them to the finals. The matter of fact, the time he was there, they were either in the finals or in the conference finals. Like Steve Nash is a two-time MVP, but I don't think he's there. Man, I would give the edge to Charles Barkley over Steve Nash.
I agree. I would give it to him. Brett?
So what's tough about this one, right, is I think if we're comparing Steve Nash and Charles Barkley, I think Barkley was by far like a more impactful defender for Phoenix. But I think Steve Nash was like light years ahead of him on offense. We're talking 50, 40, 90. And the only issue with Steve Nash is he just chose to distribute instead of shoot. And he was an all-time playmaker, all-time shooter, all-time scorer, two MVPs. So I have no issue with Nash here. I don't really have an issue with Barkley. If I had to choose between the two, call me crazy, but I'd probably go Nash.
That's fair. I would just say this. Barkley was 6'5".
Yep.
He was 6'5" and giving it to guys 6'10", 6'11". 25 points, 12 rebounds, 5 assists. Like, he was a playmaker. He was what Draymond would like to be offensively. Barkley could snatch a rebound and he could do the hard push, but he would be the finisher. Like, that guy would go coast to coast on a regular basis. He was a freakish athlete for his size. He's just a very unique, maybe one of the most unique basketball players you'll ever see. I don't think there'll never be another version of Charles Barkley, but I have no problem with Nash being there. Yep. I just think that what Barkley did, I'm talking about his overall impact. Barkley made the Suns title contenders the whole time he was there. I think Nash led the Suns to the conference finals once, maybe twice.
Yep, got you. So we got Portland's GOAT is Damian Lillard.
Yeah, I wouldn't go with that. Look, so people think we Dame bash. I'm not Dame bashing. But basketball is not a game of around the world. You remember you go in the gym with your coach? You know what I'm talking about, right? You go in the gym with the coach, and the coach don't miss. He don't miss. He don't do nothing else good, but he don't miss around the world. That's not basketball. Clyde Drexler was a better basketball player than Damian Lillard. That's basketball. He's not the shooter Damian Lillard was, but a better basketball player. He led the Blazers to the finals twice, losing to two of the greatest teams ever, Isaiah's Pistons, and then he lost to the Chicago Bulls. And he didn't embarrass himself against the Bulls. The man averaged 27, 7, and 7. I like Dame a lot. And I guess those 2 bomb shots that he made, those walk-offs, they carry a lot of weight. But I don't think his career is better than Clyde Drexler's career. He might be more beloved than Clyde Drexler. He wasn't a better player than Clyde Drexler.
Clyde Drexler was the second best shooting guard in that era. In the Jordan era, he maybe was probably the best, second best behind Mike. So, Brett, who you got?
I like Clyde too, and I think that said people are going to bash him because Jordan beat him in the finals and he didn't get it done. But part of the issue too was I think going into that finals, Jordan was highly motivated to prove to Clyde who was the best shooting guard. So he's doing stuff that he normally doesn't do. Like he comes out, cashes 6 threes in the first half.
Right.
I don't think we've ever seen Michael hit that many half the time in a game, and all of a sudden he's just doing that in a half. But I do think Clyde Drexler is just the better overall around player. I think Dame's a better shooter. Maybe give him the edge in playmaking. I think. But other than that, I think just overall, I think it's Clyde Drexler.
And Clyde was a decent defender. Go back and look at Clyde. Go back and look at highlights of Clyde Drexler, and look at that man in the open floor. If Clyde Drexler is coming down on a break in the open floor, your best bet is just to get out the way.
Yep. So for the Kings, you got the big O.
I won't argue that. Oscar Robertson is one of the all-time great iconic players. The Kings have one of those kind of series where they've been histories where they've been bad so long. Even when they've had good players, the teams were so bad. I don't think you can find nobody comparable to Oscar Robertson. Like Mitch Richmond was a great player, but I don't think he's comparable to Oscar Robertson. They had DeMarcus Cousins there, but not comparable to Oscar Robertson. They've got De'Aaron Fox. He doesn't have a long enough resume.
Yeah.
So I just don't think it's close. I think it's Oscar Robertson by a mile.
Yeah. I don't think it's close either. I think his closest competition is probably like Chris Webber, Mitch Richmond.
Oh, that's a good one.
You want to add in Peja Stojakovic. He was on the MVP ballot in 2004, DeMarcus Cousins, but I think if you combine all of them, they're still not catching Oscar when it comes to the Kings.
All right, so we got a couple more. Now you can is it unanimous on this? The Spurs GOAT. Is it unanimous on this one?
I think we all think it's Tim Duncan.
Yeah.
Right, correct.
With respect to Robinson and the Iceman, I think it's Tim Duncan.
Gotcha. So no argument on that. Now it could be an argument on the next one. Toronto, Kyle Lowry. They have Kyle Lowry to go for Toronto.
So he's a good player. I think. Correct me if I'm wrong. I think we're talking about a guy who's a 5 or 6-time All-Star. He was a pivotal part of a team that won a championship. The GOAT player. That's where they tie you up in knots with that conversation, right?
Yep.
Vince didn't win a title, but peak Vince Carter as an individual talent and what he did for them, because nobody wanted to watch the Raptors, but when Vince got there, you always wanted to watch the Raptors. Yep. He made them must see. So the Kyle Lowry thing, I would disagree with it. I wouldn't go crazy over it, but I would lean more towards Vince Carter than Kyle Lowry. But if Kyle Lowry's there, I get why they put him there. He's got tenure, and he was a big piece, a leader on that championship winning team. Yep. So I don't have a problem with that. Look, Vince was great, but he actually didn't. In the end, he didn't win a title. But I thought that Vince was just spectacular. The first 7-8 seasons of his career, he was amazing.
Right?
Yeah. I get why they put Kyle Lowry there. If you want to say it's Kyle Lowry, I'm not going to debate you on it. I don't think it's that far off, just because of what he did do for that franchise, how long he was there, and he did, with the help of Kawhi Leonard, Pascal Siakam, he did push them over the top as the second best player on that championship team.
Yep.
So I get it. If you want to be Kyle Lowry, absolutely. But I think that if we're talking about the greatest player, I do think that Vince Carter was a better Raptor. But I know Kyle Lowry leads their leaderboards in a lot of things. So if you want to go Lowry, I won't argue that.
All right. So guess you can argue this one to Utah Jazz GOAT. Do you want to guess?
I would say Karl Malone.
I think it's Malone.
But they do. We all agree it's Malone, but they got John Stockton as the GOAT of Utah.
Yeah, I wouldn't go there. Look, you can make the you can make the argument. You can't say one's name without the other, right? Stockton and Malone. You can do that. You can do that, or it's Karl Malone, but it definitely isn't John Stockton by himself. So you could say you could say both of them as an entity that way. But when you think of the Utah Jazz, I'm thinking the mailman. I'm thinking Karl Malone.
Gotcha. So the last one, you want to guess who's the Wizards GOAT? You have to guess.
40-year-old Mike? No, I'm just kidding. Nah, I'm kidding.
You had to give a quick guess. The Wizards GOAT. Who would it be?
Wizards GOAT. Well,
Wes
Wes
Unseld?
Unseld. There's Wes Unseld. There's Alvin Hayes. I can't think of nobody else.
All right, so they got Gilbert Arenas. That's what they got right now. That's what they got, Gilbert Arenas.
Come on.
They got Gilbert Arenas.
I'll give Gilbert credit. He was the best shooter on and off the court, but
oh no.
But I think I would go Wes Unseld over Gilbert Arenas real quick. I think I would go John Wall over Gilbert Arenas real quick.
I think you could go Unseld. You could go Elvin Hayes. Like there's a lot of guys before you get to Gilbert Arenas. That Gilbert Arenas must have put his own name there. He put his own name. that whoever did that, that's way off base. The greatest player. You can make an argument about the greatest talent. He might have been. Look, Gilbert Arenas was incredibly talented, but the greatest player.
I think like if you want to argue Gilbert Arenas, I think the only argument you have is if we're arguing like who had each team's greatest like 3-year peaks. Yep. Then you can put Gilbert Arenas' name in that argument.
Right.
But the greatest wizard, he's more known about the gun incident and the bad contract and his body breaking down than what he actually did on the Wizards, which what he did in those first couple of years was phenomenal. But when you're more known for the bad stuff that happened in the second half of your tenure with the team than the good, then no.
So last topic before the show end, before we get to go watch some football. Like I said, football is back. My Texans do play tonight against New England, so I will be doing that game, and we will be watching a lot of preseason tonight. But I gotta get this one out. We gotta get this one out before we end the show. Now, Michael Jordan said that Gary Payton was not giving him problems in the NBA Finals. We all know the Bulls were up 3-0. George Karl decided to make the switch to put Gary Payton on Michael Jordan, which is a result. Supersonics won 2 games. 2 games they end up losing in 6 overall. So Michael Jordan came out and said Gary Payton was not giving me problems. He was not. He said that's a joke. That's a joke. We had Michael Jordan rattled, but that's MJ. Never let Gary Payton was hurt. But George Karl made the worst decision, putting Detlef Schrempf on Michael Jordan in the NBA Finals. Is Michael Jordan right or wrong that Gary Payton didn't give him problems in the finals? Mo.
He's wrong. What Gary Payton did was, because Gary Payton was quicker than Michael Jordan, he took away Michael Jordan's ability to drive. That's the first thing he did. And now, to Michael Jordan's credit, he made the adjustment that every time down, he got in the post. Gary Payton had Michael Jordan shooting around 41% from the floor. So what Michael Jordan did really well was against Gary Payton was use his size, and he was able to get to the free throw line. But Gary Payton definitely bothered Michael Jordan because he actually redirected him from doing things that he normally could do. He couldn't out-quick him, and Gary Payton was big enough and physical enough to bang with Michael Jordan. So, look, I'm not saying he stopped Michael Jordan, but his ability to defend him at a high level, it did turn the series around.
Yep. Brett?
I'm going to let the numbers answer this one because, like, once you hear the numbers to me, there's a very clear answer as to if it bothered him or not. First 3 games of the series, MJ averaged 31 points on 46% shooting. Remember, it's game 4 is when Gary Payton made the switch. Games 4, 5, and 6, Jordan averaged 23 points on 36% shooting. So he is shooting, he's scoring 8 less points, and he's shooting 10% less from the field.
Yeah,
I think it's clear that it did. Like, MJ's never going to admit it. He's the ultimate competitor. I think that's the last thing he'll ever do is admit that really anybody bothered him on the court. But it was clear as day watching it, and then you go back and you look at the stats for when he was guarded by Gary Payton. It was very clear that Gary Payton really took a toll on MJ, but they made the switch too late, so at that point it didn't really matter.
Definitely. So this comes to the conclusion of the morning show. Shout out to my guy, everybody that tuned in. My boy Brandon from the block has came in the building. Getting ready for some gets us all set for some preseason
let's go.
Game tonight, man. Looking finally waiting on CJ tonight to get rid of this quarterback crap competition right now. Can't wait to see him tonight. But other than that, Mo, tell the people where to follow you at, man.
Right here with you, Coach. Monday through Fridays, Coffee and Sports in the morning on the Empire. And you can catch me Sunday nights at 6:30 with Cal and the crew. Cheap seats. Can't wait to get back here tomorrow to finish out the week.
Got you. Brett.
You can catch me on the morning show. You can catch me online in the Sand Tuesday nights at 8:30. I will be dropping my underrated player of the week tomorrow. I was going to do it tonight, but then work ran late, and then I kind of slept in this morning. So this week, I'll give you all a hint. We're going to Sacktown before we lit the beam. So I can't wait to do it. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Got you. So shout out to everybody, the Empire Sports Network. No introduction, but y'all know where y'all gonna be able to find me at tonight. Me covering my Texans versus the New England Patriots. And you already know football is back, man. When training camp is here, football is back. Preseason is here, football is back. So other than that, as for Coach Dante, as for my guy Mo, and as for you already know, man, if you can't win unless you guard that 3 ball. If you can't guard that 3 ball, hey, it's a slim chance you're gonna win a game if you can't guard the 3. So other than that, man, shout out to everybody. As for Coach Dante, as for Mo, and as for my boy Brett, we'll see you guys tomorrow. Enjoy some preseason football tonight, man. Thank you guys.